Hello, and welcome to the fourth episode of Horizon Watch podcast series, brought to you by TATA AIG General Insurance Company and Dun Bradstreet India. I am Vipul Oberoi, your host for the podcast series. In our previous episode, we had explored the ever evolving landscape of cybersecurity in the digital age. We had discussed how businesses are facing cyber threats and the best strategies to protect themselves. If you haven't watched it already, be sure to catch up and know the valuable insights on how to protect your digital assets in today's world. In today's episode, we are exploring yet another emerging risk, that is, supply chain vulnerabilities. From the lingering impact of the pandemic to geopolitical tensions and natural disasters, disruptions are impacting businesses that they can no longer choose to ignore. We are privileged to have with us two industry experts to discuss these challenges and to bring out actionable strategies through which businesses can protect themselves. We have with us Mr. Nitinkumar Prakash, a veteran finance leader working as a Chief Financial Officer of Zydus Lifesciences Limited, bringing over 39 years of work experience, including 16 years of rich expertise in financial leadership within the pharmaceutical sector. His responsibilities include the whole gamut of finance and legal functions at a group level. His extensive expertise in managing financial and supply chain challenges has been instrumental in driving resilience within the organization. It is a proud privilege to have with us today the recipient of ICAI's prestigious India's Best CFO title. And we also have with us Mr. Sudhir Khare, Senior Executive Vice President and Head Commercial Business at TATA AIG General Insurance. Sudhir has been part of the company for over 2 decades, heading the underwriting and risk function for the property and energy business, launching new products and also structuring a strategic framework for the company's growth. Mr. Khare has over 3 decades of experience in various functions for the general insurance industry, ranging from underwriting and claims to marketing. He is also well versed in managing teams and clients and navigating large complex engineering projects. Welcome, Sudhir. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Pul.
Sudhir, let's start with you. The global pandemic exposed companies to many vulnerabilities, especially on the supply chain side. In fact, in the Horizon Watch report, which has been published by TATA AIG General Insurance and Dun Bradstreet, supply chain disruptions have come out as one of the top 5 emerging risks. In your opinion, what do you think are the supply chain risks that companies face today?
Supply chain, in fact, is one of the major risks which any company is facing. It's a challenge to the entire industry. In fact, pandemic was a wake-up call for the entire industry. So supply chain vulnerability basically stem from a couple of reasons. One, from the geopolitical tensions. Second, from extreme weather events, cyber security, and the inflation cost pressure. All these factors put together is putting a lot of stress to the industry in terms of the production and the operations. If we have to really talk about the impact of the supply chain vulnerability on the business aspect, just to give an illustration, if I have to name the Red Sea crisis as one of the factor, the one consignment which is destined to Europe or the US East Coast was taking 10 to 12 days extra while taking a second route. Similarly, the cost of the transportation has also gone up because of this Red Sea crisis. One single 20 feet container, the cost had gone up from $2,000 to $3,000. So all these factors put together was really putting pressure. And to any organization, probably to address the supply chain issue, vulnerability issue as far as the supply chain is concerned, they should focus one on diversifying the suppliers. And second, they should work towards adoption of predictive technology so that they can forecast the disruption in the business.
So diversifying the suppliers and adoption of predictive technologies. Nitin, Zydus Lifesciences operates in a sector in which supply chain is critical. In fact, in our Horizon Watch research study, 68% of companies in the chemicals and pharmaceutical sector called out logistics and transportation disruptions as one of the biggest emerging risks. Can you share perhaps with some specific examples how Zydus is addressing these challenges?
So first of all, let me thank both Tata AIG and Dun Bradstreet for inviting me for this very fruitful and interesting interaction. Zydus has a multifaceted approach in terms of supply chain. First is the diversification. So during COVID-19 pandemic, Zydus expanded its supplier base to include both local as well as international suppliers, so that we are not dependent on a single source. We also have, invented a new set of, vendors as alternate vendor strategy. It is no wonder that because of this strategy, none of our plants were having any kind of interruption during COVID-19 pandemic also. The second is reliance on the digital tools and the technology to help the inventory management. So we also increased our safety stock levels for all major items. For a company which gets almost 40 to 50% of its consolidated revenues from US generic business, the new products remain very important driver of growth, and we re-engineered the entire new product launch strategy and address the supply chain bottlenecks. The fourth is the business continuity plans. In today's very unpredictable and dynamic world that we are all witnessing, I think the importance of contingency strategies and business continuity plans need not be elaborated further. So this is the way we are tackling the supply chain management.
True. That's fascinating, Nitin. Now let's move on to technology. Both of you have highlighted the potential that technology has in mitigating supply chain risk. But Sudhir, I would love to know some examples where you feel technology has really or can bring out an impact in mitigating these supply chain risks.
People technology, in my view, is a big game changer as far as supply chain is concerned. For instance, application of IoT devices can help us tracking the goods movement, can reduce the time, can cut the waste. If we talk about predictive analysis adoption, that can help us anticipating disruption in business. We can plan our business strategies accordingly. To move further, application of the blockchain technology that can ensure the transparency, can foster the support, trust between the value chain partners. Application of AI powered tools has of late have been used in better management of inventory and making entire operations smarter. Application of digital twins can also help us in simulating the scenarios. We can test the resilience. All these technology adoption will not only help us addressing the today's problem, rather this will prepare any organization for the future ready supply chain system in place, and it would be agile and immune to the vulnerability of the system what is anticipated.
Certainly, and that's what Horizon Watch is about, preparing for the emerging risks.
Nitin, what's your view on the adoption of technology in addressing the supply chain vulnerability?
I completely agree with whatever points Sudhir mentioned in terms of adoption of technology and how it helps the supply chain. Talking about how Zydus is using the power of technology. First, we have implemented integrated advanced analytics for our supply chain management to monitor shipments on real-time basis. Secondly, we have several digital collaboration tools to improve our communication both with the suppliers as well as customers, which help us in terms of fostering the partnerships and also a good alignment in case of any kind of disruptions. We have some specific tools, digital tools also that we have implemented. For example, PACE is a one tool which is a planning and excellence related tool for projects management. We have master data management tool which is also implemented, and we also use for coding Codosol. So there are various digital tools that we are using. These tools have helped us in terms of improving the efficiency, accuracy, and predictability of the supply chain. This is the way we are, handling in terms of use of technology. It works as a miracle if you use it right.
That's very well said, Nitin. We have discussed about global chain supply risks, the importance of continuity, and the importance of technology. But there is also a very important factor which organizations adopt to build resilience in terms of supply chain risk. I'm talking about strategic partnerships, building relationship with their stakeholders, with their customers, with their suppliers, with their regulators. It's, I think, about a strength in numbers. Isn't that true?
Absolutely, people. A strong relationship in supply chain definitely helps any organization to mitigate the risk in developing a resilience environment. For instance, One of the world's large global manufacturers, electronic manufacturers, they faced supply chain interruption due to the shortage of semiconductor chips. What they did, they collaborated with the supplier directly, worked on developing a joint capacity building initiatives, and so this really helped them to get the priority access to the components, and that's how they could mitigate the production delay. We also see there's a growing recognition of the role of risk management mitigation framework, and there's also include insurance, which typically helps any business to recover very swiftly from the disruption. So each business needs a very strong risk management framework backed by adequate business interruption insurance or supply chain insurance, which will really help them to get back to the feet at the earliest possible. A strong relationship should be there in the entire ecosystem. When for any successful organization, they need to have very strong collaborative relationships in place, starting from supplier to the logistic partners to the insurers, so that they can provide adequate support, flexibility, and the need support in the hour of the need. It will really provide proper risk mitigating tools which they really need to thrive in such a volatile world.
Certainly. In fact, Sudhir, after listening to you, I feel global strategic partnerships are much more important than previously I had assumed. And looking ahead, Nitin, this question is to you. What do you foresee the key changes that will happen in global supply chains? How do you see this supply chain evolving in the coming years?
Future of supply chain is both challenging as well as rewarding. It depends how do you want to look at it. Look at negatively or positively. But some of the things which we are working on include three important things. One is hybrid model. For cost competitiveness, you go for global sourcing, but at the same time, you depend on the local suppliers for bringing agility in the supply chain as well as to reduce the lead time. Second is use of digital technology. I think in today's time, the importance of digital technology with AI and machine learning making a lot of sense need not be overemphasized. When even a person like Mukesh Ambani wants to listen to Jensen Huang in terms of AI power, I think the importance is understood by everybody. Vipul, you and Sudhir would agree that before 2 years, when we started understanding about Chat GPT, we all are amazed. And in 2 years' time, I think we have traveled a long distance in that respect. And that is the way supply chain is supposed to use. The third is focus on ESG. I think increasingly the importance of eco-friendly materials and suppliers and reduction of carbon footprint is necessary. People who follow ethical practices would definitely gain importance in terms of priority.
Very well said. And Sudhir, do you agree with these views? Do you hold similar views here?
Yeah, people, I think future of the supply chain will be driven by two major factors. One is the sustainability and second is the technology. More and more organizations are adopting sustainability in their operations, starting from application of the solar and wind energy, adoption of green fuel into the transportation, sustainable packaging. All these things are leading to more efficient operations and reduction of the wastages. Similarly, some of the practices which are being adopted by the organizations, starting from reverse logistic, material recovery, application of the green material or the local material, they are becoming a standard norm for the operations. And obviously, this is helping organizations in achieving their sustainability goals, and at the same time, they're also reducing the cost to the organizations. Clearly, a factor emerges that adoption of the sustainability and the technology into their operations will lead to creation of a supply chain ecosystem which will be future ready and which will be resilient to the vulnerabilities.
That's great, Sudhir. Clearly, I think you are a champion of sustainability.
Yeah, thank you, Bill.
To wrap up, in fact, a last question, Nitin, for you is what do you think are the top three things that businesses must do today in order to mitigate supply chain risks?
Yes, the first is diversify your supplier base so that you are not vulnerable or dependent on single source by using alternate vendor strategy and making it a part of your practice. That's the first thing. Second is use digital technology to get better efficiency, to get predictive analytics, and also to manage your cybersecurity well. The third is in terms of forging partnerships with your suppliers, both for inputs as well as for logistics requirement. But forging partnership on a sustainable basis need foundation of trust and fairness. So if I end this with a share from my ghazal, I would say, चाहे कुछ मुमकिन न हो पर कुछ रचा कर देखिए, रेत में एक आध कश्ती भी चला कर देखिए, गर अकड़ के सर रखोगे, विपुल, गर अकड़ के सर रखोगे, हक यकीनन जाएगा, यूं कहीं कोई समय उसको झुका कर देखिए.
That's very well said, Nitin. And Sudhir, from your side?
I'll say first, conduct the regular risk assessment. Second, ensure you have the robust contingency plan in place. And third, of course, you need to have a proper insurance protection to ensure any negative fallout of the financial risk which you are facing due to emerging supply chain risk. These are the three I'd just like to add.
Certainly, everyone needs a safety net.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sudhir, so much for sharing your insights and thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nitin, for sharing your insights as well.
Oh, it's my pleasure, and thank you for inviting me. Very happy with your very interesting questions and also the views expressed by my co-speaker Sudhir.
Thank you, Nitin, for joining us and sharing your perspective on the very pertinent topic of the today's supply chain vulnerabilities.
Certainly, businesses do need a more strategic and proactive approach to navigate the complex supply chain landscape. Thank you to our listeners for joining in to another episode of Horizon Watch podcast series. Subscribe to us and share your thoughts and questions. Do join in the next episode of this podcast series in order to learn how to navigate the complex emerging risk landscape. Until then, this is Vipul Oberoi signing off. Stay prepared, stay resilient.